Okay, today what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to make a steak. Now, this isn't a perfect steak. This isn't a great steak. This isn't even whatever they've been selling you on Food Network or all that other garbage. Now, we're going to show you basically how to make a steak. Now, we're going to let the butter melt. Okay? Get a little glisten. The butter melting. We should never let the butter get brown. Now the steaks that I have two sirloins over here, two basically flank cuts. Cheap thing, you can find any of this at the supermarket that you go to. Now, what we do is we let this get down all together. You can season the butter. What I like to do is I like to add a little bit of olive oil. And that's a little bit too much, but it's still going to work out fine because what we're going to have is we're going to have this steak basically grilling and frying and broiling at the same time. Now we have two cut steaks. Those are the steaks. Okay? We keep it on a high temperature. Once again, watching. And the smells you can't really even believe here, but you know, once you do this, you'll understand exactly what it is. These steaks have been seasoned with onion powder, garlic powder, a little bit of adobo, salt and pepper of course, and we still have other seasonings that we're going to add. Now the garlic that is being added also works, but also you have to understand with this, the onions. The onions will be added, and it's added as it is frying. And you can chunk them up because they will break apart. You can leave them in the whole, doesn't really matter. But at the same time, if you want to add your onions to it, that's fine. Now, I had no whole garlic, so what I had to use was garlic powder. And right now, what I'm reaching for, because of the onions, is a little bit more oregano. Now you can use any type of oregano as long as it's all natural, but at the same time, just to give it a little bit of a spike, I'm going to add bay leaves. Now for my vegetarian friends and those that are really sensitive about their diet, this is not for you. And I wouldn't try it with tofu either because that would be a disaster. Okay, now while this is cooking for a few moments, we will actually have to go and flip. Now we're going to do a ghetto flip because I don't really have the instrument I need, but I do have a spatula. Now here's your ghetto flip. Now you see the browning. This is exactly what you're looking for. You still see with the butter and making sure that you get all of the juices in with each other. And of course you still have your onions that are caramelizing. And we still got to make sure that we get all of those juices in there, because we don't want to really dry this out. Now, actually with this, we're using a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, and I didn't use certain things because I didn't want to dry out the meat too much. But this, when it is done, it is going to be actually a medium well. Now, those who don't know what a medium well is, I'm going to show you what it looks like once I plate this, and it's going to be a short plate, but I'm going to show you how it's supposed to look as to whatever y'all do in y'all kitchens. Now, if you want to burn it up, if you want the meat to be brown or gray, then you do that. But actually, the juices that are coming out right here, if you can see these juices right here, okay, that's actually a lot of your nutrients. Now, this is still a little bit soft, so, you know, we're going to let it go ahead. We're going to tap it a little bit just to wake it up. And just make sure that all those juices are coming out. And at the same time, as you can see here, these juices here, you know, they're all coming out and they're all getting down into what we have here with the onions and the frying and the butter and the olive oil. All of this later on can be used to make a gravy if you choose to make one. We still have our bay leaves here, and we still have everything doing just fine. Okay, now what you see here is you see all these juices. I'm going to go and show you a second flip. This second flip will be the finisher for these two steaks. Now, after this, after a few moments, basically I go from texture as to what type, but you can go 2 to 3 minutes on either side, depending on how you are wanting to cook and depending on the size of the flame that's underneath it. Now what I'm going to do is this, is because I don't like cooked carrots, I'm going to add cooked carrots. I'm going to add these raw carrots to it, just for the extenuated flavor of it, just going into the end of this. And I'm also going to add a couple of potatoes that I stole from my son, because he's making, he's actually making, what are you making? Curry. Curry. Okay, he's making curry pork actually, but not curry beef. But just to, you know, to show you how you let all of these ingredients mix in at just the right temperature. And of course you can say for anyone as far as color is concerned, you know, you can say that you've added this. We'll show a little bit more color on the plating, and then we'll show you how the finished steak should look. Okay, now what we have here is we're going to do the cool down here for a minute. We're going to let this meat rest a little bit, but I still want you to see, notice that there's still red here. Okay, those are still juices coming out. Now this meat is cooked. Okay, some people might have a fear of it, but actually this is cooked. As I said, we're going for medium well, and what medium well should actually look like. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut off this flame, and we're going to let this rest for about 2 minutes. Okay, what we have here is we're going to do a little bit of the plating here. We're going to get a little bit of a decoration here. We're going to use the actual tomato. Now, the tomato is going great with the steak. Of course, everyone knows that. Cut a little bit off. Of course, we still have the dog here. Wet. And she still comes for everything. So, what we're going to do is we're going to try and get a little bit of a palette for this steak to be on when it is actually done. Now each end, usually each end I will give to my dog, but what we're going to do is we're going to take an extra amount of tomatoes here, and we will of course try to find some decoration for it. Now, simple process. You decide how you want it to look. You can flurry it out like this. Okay. Or you can make it separated or put around the whole, you know, concentration of the main meal, which will be the meat on this. But actually, for this, I think we're going to stick with this. And from that, I'm going to add some salt, pepper, oregano, and garlic. Now keep it simple. Now some of you like with the magazines here, if you want the ground, I use ground pepper, but some of you who might have a little bit of an instinct, we can use the pepper grinder. And that's done. Now, of course, a little bit of oregano. The meat over there is still resting. Onion powder. Garlic powder. And of course, at the end, the puppy gets the scraps. Okay, now plating this. This is what we have here. We're going to lay, it's chosen by my son as the best piece for plating. Now, on top of that, you can have the vegetables, of course, that you used. And like I said, for the color, you can add them in. You have the potato. And you have the carrots, of course, where I can't stand cooked. So these are al dente. But they still go well as far as for plating steak. But anything goes well with steak, I think. So just to plate that and to add a little bit more of a garnish, we're going to add small sprigs of cleanly washed fresh spinach. You can add that there. Of course, it fills up the plate. And then on top of that, you can add 2 well-placed pieces of cauliflower, which really fills up the plate. And you have your colors. And on top of that, just to give it a little bit more bounce, you can add just certain pieces and tethers of the cauliflower. And that can only be finalized by what I was telling you before about the juices with the butter and the making of the gravy. You can take the gravy and use it as much as you like, just to keep all those flavors together. And this is a steak and how it's made in the Jersey kitchen. Now, you can come and see me in White City when you get a chance. Add comments if you like. Either way, this is going to be good. The dog is still here, and the kids are still here, so enjoy.